Detective Mulligan, with all due respect, I don't want anything to do with Cletus Cassidy.
Well, that's too bad, because he only wants to see you. In my opinion, you had your chance with Cassidy and you blew it.
Right, so what does he want?
Maybe he wants to spill the beans about where the missing bodies are buried. So you're gonna have to do the right thing for a change.
Anything you want to unburden yourself with before this happens?
Yes. I have wishes to bestow upon you. I want to wish you this heartbreak.
Uh-oh. Too late.
I wish for you to see out your days alone as you always have been.
Watch it, pal.
Where are you going with this?
You are a cancer to everyone who ever loved you, Eddie. Deceived your trusting fiancé, and no wonder Daddy could never look at you again after you killed his wife, your mother, just by being born.
You son of a bitch!
I have tasted blood before, and that is not it. All I ever wanted in this world is carnage. Eddie, I've been thinking about you because you and I are the same.
Where are you going with this?
I'd like you to meet Carnage.
Exclusively in movie theaters October 1st. Rated PG-13.
Welcome back, everyone. This is my new Venom Let There Be Carnage trailer video. They dropped a whole bunch of new scenes with a bunch of Spider-Man Easter eggs, Carnage, Venom, even Toxin Easter eggs for those of you that want them to do the Toxin symbiote. So we'll break it all down, and Tom Hardy was also clarifying how they're working with Marvel on their big Spider-Man Tom Holland crossover movies too. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. I'll be doing full breakdown, post-credit scene Easter egg videos for the movie when it comes out next week. We've also got a lot of Spider-Man No Way Home stuff that's going to be happening really soon too. So you won't have to wait too long to actually see these characters and these universes start slowly crossing over. They also just announced that they're going to be doing a special Marvel Disney Plus Day and Star Wars Disney Plus Day later this year with a bunch of trailer footage, so I'll talk about that at the end of the video too. Right now there's so much big stuff coming up before the end of the year, it's kind of like trailer city. But the first new scene here is Detective Patrick Mulligan, who is Toxin in the comics, the offspring of Carnage, talking to Eddie Brock, trying to get him to go visit Cletus Cassidy in prison, hoping that they can get some more information about all the bodies that he hid that they never found. And it's all just part of Cletus Cassidy's obsession with Eddie Brock, just trying to mess with him. But as you can see, there's a lot of tension between Patrick Mulligan and Eddie Brock. I think they're just laying the seeds for a potential Toxin arc in the future of the Venom movies. The way that Tom Hardy explained them planning that stuff out is that he said that they have plans for another couple of Venom sequels, but they think of those as being separate from the big Tom Holland Spider-Man MCU crossover movies. So for instance, they've already confirmed that they're crossing him over with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I posted a clip of them talking about that in my last big Venom Let There Be Carnage video. But when they do that movie, it won't be like Venom 3 or Spider-Man 4 or anything like that. It'll just be like a separate movie off to the side. They call those sidequels because it's not quite a sequel, but it's kind of a sequel. Using the map of the Marvel Multiverse here from Loki, this is so useful. I'm so glad that they did this on Loki because now we can use it to talk about universes crossing over between different franchises. If the initial giant line across the bottom of the frame represents the MCU main timeline, one of these giant branches coming off of it represents the Venom movies in a different universe. Picture Venom 3, Venom 4, however many more Venom movies they do, is just continuing along this giant branch timeline towards the top of the frame, while the MCU timeline just kind of continues on its own direction. Then you have events like Spider-Man No Way Home, where Doctor Strange and Spider-Man do everything they can to just completely mess up the multiverse, where events cause these different universes, the different timelines to sort of overlap briefly, and you can have characters crossing over, which is how they're explaining all the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man characters and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man characters winding up in Spider-Man No Way Home. Marvel and Sony just chose to make that a mainstream, main MCU timeline movie, whereas the way that Tom Hardy explains it, when they do Spider-Man Venom crossover, that'll be more like a side adventure. It won't be like a mainstream Spider-Man movie. It won't be Spider-Man 4. So Tom Hardy just explained that that's the way that they pitch when they're talking to Marvel, and he did make it sound like they pitch them ideas all the time about Spider-Man crossovers, like how about this idea, like how about a Maximum Carnage crossover? And Kevin Feige and Marvel just sort of evaluate that based on what their own plans are for the future of Tom Holland inside the other Marvel movies like Avengers 5 and the other non-Spider-Man movies that they want to use him in. So for instance, if Venom 3 winds up being Venom versus Toxin, the offspring of the Carnage symbiote, they would just continue on with that storyline in their own universe, picking up where they left off in the events of the previous Venom movie. But the way the new Marvel and Sony sharing deal works, with them allowing these characters to actually cross over now, is that they do allow the Sony people in the Venom movies to reference Spider-Man things. Like they can have Spider-Man Easter eggs, like we have J. Jonah Jameson and we have the Daily Bugle inside Venom Let There Be Carnage. The only time they get really weird and tricky with how that works is when you actually have physical Tom Holland as Spider-Man in a Spider-Man costume crossing over with Venom on screen. Any other time, the Sony people are allowed to reference Spider-Man related Easter eggs, and even more so once Tom Holland actually crosses over with Venom. The reason why you didn't see a lot of those Spider-Man Easter eggs in the first Venom movie is because they were playing it safe, and they made that movie before they signed the brand new Spider-Man sharing deal. But then in this other trailer footage, you have a much longer version of him going to see Cletus Cassidy and Cletus Cassidy getting the Carnage symbiote, which as they explain here is a bit of a change from the comic book version. It's still sort of Venom's offspring, but it's like the Venom symbiote mixing with Cletus Cassidy's blood, and the combination of their DNA just completely changing it into a wholly different symbiote. Speaking of which, he also says to Eddie in the trailer footage, "I would like to introduce you to Carnage," and then obviously the Carnage symbiote comes out. Usually it's the symbiotes that wind up naming themselves, like the Clintar, their race. They have their own names, their own identities. So unless I'm misremembering, I think they were actually accurate to that in the first Venom movie, where the symbiote was already named Venom and told Eddie that its name was Venom, like Eddie himself didn't give it the name Venom. The way they play it in this trailer makes it sound like Cletus Cassidy gives his symbiote the name Carnage. But the reason why that might happen is because it's a brand new symbiote that's just being born when it enters his body, basically. As opposed to the other symbiotes from the first Venom movie, which were alive for a long time, like matured by themselves and then came to planet Earth. Like they already fully developed as symbiotes before they started bonding with people on Earth. Speaking of Maximum Carnage in the Shriek character, they also just released a brand new scene of Shriek inside her cell in Ravencroft Institute. The interesting thing about her character is that even though she's a Spider-Man character, like she debuted in the Spider-Man comics, she debuted as a mutant. And I know everybody's just wondering what's going on with really mainstream mutants in Marvel Phase 4. What about the X-Men characters? How will they explain her powers in this? Will Sony be allowed to use the term mutants in the Venom movies? The way they explain her backstory in the Spider-Man comics is that when she was younger, she was shot in the head and then put into Cloak's special cloak from Cloak and Dagger, which acts as sort of a gateway to the Dark Dimension. And exposure to the Dark Dimension energy awakened her latent mutant abilities. And as you can see from the trailer, she just has a sonic scream. That's basically her power. But unless Marvel gave Sony permission to use the term mutant inside the Venomverse movies, the Spider-Man related movies that they're doing on their own, they wouldn't be able to have any of the other characters refer to her as a mutant verbally during the movie. They'd have to just call her something else or be mysterious about it, be very vague about where her powers came from. And just hope that they also work out a sharing deal like they did for Spider-Man, but for mutant and X-Men characters too, so that Sony can start crossing over some of the other X-Men characters when it's relevant for their films. Which does seem likely to happen eventually. There's a billion lesser mutant characters from the X-Men Marvel comics that will probably never see the light of day in a mainstream MCU movie. It's usually just the A-list characters like Spider-Man himself, Wolverine, the mainstream X-Men characters that studios are more careful about. But if Marvel and Sony can share a character like Tom Holland's Spider-Man, probably one of the biggest comic book characters of all time, then anything is possible. A really good example of a different type of crossover between Marvel and Sony's Spider-Man movies is doing like a Morbius and Blade crossover, which seems like a pretty easy slam dunk if they wind up doing Morbius sequels. Don't worry, even though it's been a while since they've talked about the Morbius movie, they're still planning on releasing it in January. There'll be all kinds of Spider-Man Easter eggs during that too, just because of Michael Keaton's Vulture character, as well as that giant picture of Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man costume. As for all those Disney Plus trailers and special announcements that they just made, so Marvel said November 12th, they're going to have a special Disney Plus day where they drop a couple trailers and some footage for upcoming series that they haven't talked about in a while, like maybe a Moon Knight trailer, a She-Hulk trailer, maybe some footage from Miss Marvel, and announce release dates for all that stuff, then reveal more upcoming series that they haven't talked about previously because they have a billion different series that are in development. Then as part of that, Star Wars is also doing the exact same thing. The Star Wars trailers we're probably going to get will be a full Book of Boba Fett trailer. That's like Mandalorian Season 2.5. We might get the Obi-Wan teaser trailer for the Obi-Wan series, which also features Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker. And then more teaser announcements about upcoming Star Wars series like The Mandalorian Season 3, the Ahsoka series, the Darkside Acolyte Sith series, and maybe some other stuff that they're working on that they haven't announced yet. So don't worry, I will do videos for all the big stuff that they release. As long as you have alerts enabled for my channel, you should see all that stuff when I post it. My full Marvel What If Episode 7 video will post next on Wednesday, just like normal. It's going to be the Party Thor episode. Everyone click here for my brand new Eternals trailer video for Kit Harington's Black Knight character, and click here to learn what's going on with the Sinister Six inside the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.